Eyes down for the
Good afternoon, people. Monday. Beautiful weather. Clear, warm. Some light cloud. And possibly rats. I can hear little feet running about above this ceiling. It seems to be isolated to one joist. So they're in between a pair of joists. Now they get in from the back, because the people that have the house behind me, or the guy that has the house behind me since his partner died, have chickens and geese and all sorts of birds, and they feed them on the floor, and of course the place gets alive with rats, and I've had them in before, and they're very difficult to keep out, because of course once they've found a food source they want somewhere to live. And they want somewhere warm and dry to live. So they poke around until they can find somewhere. And it looks like they've found somewhere in my roof somehow. I don't know how, because it was only put on a few years ago and I made it as rat proof as I possibly could. But there you go. Anyway, we shall see what we shall see. But if the ceiling has to come down, the ceiling has to come down, and that's the end of it. It'll probably be done in spring. We'll see what happens. Right, never mind that. Even though it is a bloody nuisance. Let's get back to this. And let's mark it up and get some more metal peeled off it until it's down to size. Okay, I'll bring you back when I'm on with it. There we are, folks. The collet block is really coming in useful for mounting things. That is absolutely spot on. I can just skim that front off and then probably put it in the vise. Maybe I can even do it in here to shorten it. Right, I'm going to just get some glue on there and mark it out again, because I've rubbed it all off, fitting it in the collet block, and that'll be ready for doing. But it's 4:30, so it won't be today. Right, bye now. Afternoon, chaps. Tuesday. We've done the Castle Hill trip and we're back. I'm back. And, you know, I can settle to nought with these bloody rats. So I've had my builder chum round and he's had a look and you can see holes. And he's just gone off to get some stuff to do a temporary cover up, and I've also got in touch with the pest control man, who is unfortunately away this week, but he's coming back at the weekend, so he'll get in touch with me next week. So I'm going to try to concentrate enough to get this milling done, so I'll go and put the lights on and I'll get back to you. Here we go, folks. I just went back on we're taking it. So I've gone the handle the wrong way then. Yeah, once again I'm taking baby cuts, because first of all I'm a cowardly custard, and second I'm held by a 1/4 inch diameter stem of the thing, so I don't want to go and put a couple of slits on there. And it's coming off very nicely, as you would expect, because it's only drawn. Cut on. very lucky with this collet block, it's 5C collets. I got the collets from the bay, and I got them cheap because they're not the best collets in the universe. They're good mates, but they've generally seen a bit of abuse. So I thought, yeah, I'll risk it. And so far, the more you realise how useful they are, the more things you use them for. And of course, these are the collets, these are 5C collets, and they're the collets that fit the Holbrook. Let's have a look at that, see how we do. We're very close to our line. How close are we to being the correct height? I think that would do it, because that, looking at the wear line on here, it's not been sticking into the shaft as deeply as it could. I'll just go and have a measure up and see if we can afford to leave a bit more on. I'll bring you back in a minute. No, we can't afford to put any more, leave any more on it. It's got to be that size, because that is the depth of the slot. They could have maybe, they can't really go any deeper on the slot because of course there's an internal drive shaft as well. I'm ottering, take some more off. Right, let's set another cut on. Let's just sneak up on it now. Not that angle, but this angle. Yep. Another couple of cuts off that, we'll see it done. I think same again, we're getting very close. Anyway, you can see what I'm doing. Gonna carry on watching? I'll do another cut. There we go. Beautiful machine to use, this is. It came out of the school, my wife worked at, and there was a matching Harrison lathe of the same era that is still there that I would love to buy, should I live long enough. But it's a gorgeous lathe. I'm still torn about the Harrison Colchester thing. I think to be honest, although some of the engineering in the Harrison equipment of this era was a little bit on the simple approach and crude side, I think the quality of the Harrison equipment is a little bit better than the Colchester equipment. Although the Colchesters, if you look at the way the Colchester works was set up, they put an enormous amount of work into making accurate, reliable machines that were heavily used in industry for repetitive work. So they were constantly taking a punishment, and they seemed to last. That student of mine is a fabulous machine. Even though it's from the early 60s, it still can turn out accurate work. There's only one thing I need to do to that, and I'll film it when I do it, and that's reset the head alignment, because I've lost the head alignment when I rebuilt it. It's very slightly out, and it needs just jerking round a bit, which you just loosen off a few Allen screws that hold the headstock to the bed, and you can realign it. And this is why, incidentally, I'm rambling now, aren't I? This is why you should never lift a lathe by the headstock or by putting a tube through the spindle. Also, because it's very easy to damage the spindle lifting it like that. But the only thing that's holding that headstock to that rest of the lathe is 5 little Allen screws. And I think they're about 5/4 inch, maybe 5/16 inch Allen screws. That's all that's holding the two together. And you're lifting virtually 3/4 of a ton on those few Allen screws. Not a good idea, chaps. I do tell people not to do it. Whether they take much notice or not, I don't know. With most machinery, you get a lifting lug, like the one on this. There's a lifting lug on top of that. There's a lifting lug goes on the Colchester. If you look up the details on the net, you almost always find that there is a recognised way of lifting every machine, and if you look for it a bit, you'll find it. Right, possibly the last cut. Spot on. Spot us on the eye. There we are. Job done. If it needs a bit more, I shall just ease the middle. With a round file. And that will give us a little bit of more penetration. Right, the next bit to do is to shorten one side down. So, I'll set up for that and I'll bring you back. Okay, bye now. There we go, folks. It's fitted and it changes beautifully. Much better than the other one did. Actually, that's just sticking on the gear. I'm happy with that. Right. I can now rebuild the apron. That's what it's called, the apron. My mind must be going. Right, there we go, job done. There it is. You can see from the little black oily greasy mark how far it goes into the gear itself, but it won't actually go any further, so there you go. Anyway, working perfectly now. Happy with that. Bye now. Cheers folks. And it certainly wouldn't do that before. That's working perfectly now. Very pleased. Of course, this is the second attempt to put it back together again. You have to remember with these Holbrooks that everything fits so perfectly. Right? If anything at all doesn't fit, you've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. Once you get it right, it drops together. I haven't driven that pin in yet, so, but that is beautiful. Very pleased with that. Right, it's 5 o'clock, so it's time to go home. So that's Tuesday done. The rat saga continues. I have found that we have a rat man, if you like, called Risley in Langtoft. But unfortunately he's away on holiday this week. He's back this weekend, so he's coming to see me next week, so that's that sorted. And if I have to do some repair work on the roof and etc, I have to do it, I'll just go up there and do it. And I've also got somebody to give me a hand doing the roofing, so we might have to both get up there and get it sorted. But for today, that's it. Bye now. Afternoon folks. 3 o'clock, Wednesday. And I've got it on. Now, it might not be a permanent fitting, but it's on. Right? And it's all working beautifully. Look at that. Right? So, my mate's just been to see me, and I took advantage of him being here, and we lifted it into position and nipped it up. So I'm going to build it up now, and check everything works. And maybe even put the top slide on. But I'll tell you what I'll do before I do anything at all. I'll check this bar and see if it drags. Check the knockoff bar for the threading and turn into a shoulder and see if it drags. That's what I'll do next. Right, bring you back when it's in. Bye now. And there it is. That went through without a touch. Straight in, threaded from the saddle straight into the screw cutting box, or should I say the speeds and feeds box, if you like. So I think we can say that's a success. So what I'm going to do first is rebuild the saddle, and when I've rebuilt the saddle and the apron, I shall put the rest of it together, put the lead screw in, put the feed screw in, and then we can see how we're going. All this goes together because of course all this is linked to the side movement of this rod, which puts that out of gear like that, I think. So that's gone very well. Very pleased. I took the saddle off again and cleaned it all up again and cleaned it out underneath. I was thinking about putting some wipers on it, but owing to the fact that there's so little metal to get some screws into, and the fact that they never had any, convinced me not to do it. There's no reason why I couldn't do it at a later date if I wanted to, but I really think I was maybe going excessive there. Anyway, there we go. Let's continue. Here's a queer thing. The keyway doesn't go all the way to the end of the shaft. This is the power shaft, the power feed shaft for the cross slide. So I can't thread it in like I thought I could through the gear in the saddle, in the apron, because it won't go. So it looks like the only way to get it in is to put it in before you put the apron on, or to take off the screw cutting box and fit it before you fit the screw cutting box, which could very well be the way it's done at the factory. There you go, what a pain. If that key had been continued straight through to there, it would have provided that hole to put a set screw into, and the pinhole would have been at the bottom of the keyway. There you go. Never mind. And I don't think there's any way I can take that gear out and thread it onto the shaft without taking all the front off this and the gear selector out, and I'm not doing that. So unlucky. What a pain. Never mind, we will get over it. I shall probably remove the that shaft and take the screw cutting box off. Take the screw cutting box off. Yeah, it's the only thing to do, I think, because this is fiddly to get back together. I've got it back together now, and it's all working perfectly. And all that's holding the screw cutting box on is 4 screws. So it looks like that's probably the way to do it. What I'm going to do now is check the lead screw, see if I need to put the lead screw on as well. I can't imagine I do, but you never know. Right, so I'll check I can get the lead screw through. Right, well, that's quite a nice bit done for today. I'll bring you back if I do any more. It's just gone, it's 4:15. 4:15. I might get a bit more done today, yeah, I'll see. Okay. Morning, folks. Thursday. And first job today, take that off. Take that off. Thread the bar through. And put it back on. And then continue the reassembly of the lead screw, the drive shaft, which may require a new bushing there. I'm going to decide when I get the shaft in position, and if it does, it will be a good time to do it while the screw cutting box is off. Although it doesn't honestly make that difference. You could do it. You could do it easily, just as easily with it on. But it's beginning to come together now. Very pleased. I got that painted yesterday, but it's still tacky, and I've got those painted in these little things for the knockoff bar, clamps for the knockoff bar. They're painted in primer. The other ones over there, they want a coat of black, and then they can go on, because they have to go on before the bar goes through, because one of them goes at this side, of course. Right, and there's also a bush there, I think, as well. There you go. Odd about that little hole, there's a little hole that's been badly drilled through the shaft. In fact, it's been drilled in 2 slightly different places, but I don't know what that's for. But there you go. I don't think it's Holbrook. I don't think it's original by any means. But right, I shall crack on with this, and when that's off, I'll bring you back. And there it is, folks. I forgot how easy that was. I'll need to just put a bit of Tight on it when I rebuild it, because that does contain oil, or at least it's a sort of total loss system, but it'll stop it running out the bottom. Okay, right, let's try this rod in then. Look at this, folks. just cleaning up the lead screw, and look at that end. And look what's coming out of it. This is the lead screw generally, not just that end. But you don't realise what gets trapped right down in the bottom of the threads. So I'm going to give this a thorough clean, and I'm going to put this on as well. And then we can continue to assemble. Right, I'll bring you back in a bit. That's better, chaps. I mean, this end where the half nut never gets to was like ridiculous. And what I did was made this piece of wood just to drop into the threads, put the end of a cloth over it, and just held it into the threads and slowly let the... There we are, folks. After about 3/4 of an hour in the lathe, with a piece of wood ground up to fit into the thread and the cloth over it, with some white spirit with a bronze wire brush, I've managed to get a clean lead screw. That took more doing than I thought it would. That was a lot dirtier than I thought it was. And in this end, it's absolutely jam-packed, because of course this is the area where the half nuts never get to. Thank goodness. Right, it's clean, it's going on. Bring you back shortly. There we go, folks. There's only one thing that I've got wrong, well, not got wrong, but not checked, and I'm going to have to take it to bits and check it again. And that is, I don't know if I've got the hole in the lead screw the right way around for the taper pin. So I'm going to have to check that out again, which is not a big job. And just check that I've got that's the right way around. Right, but that's in, the pin's in, and it's my concern about the wear in this bush was completely ungrounded. It's hardly worn at all. It's bloody perfect. So there you go. So we're getting there. We're going forward. It should go together quite quickly now, provided I can remember to do it in the right order, right? And finding that this shaft will only go in from this end was a bit of a shocker, because I'd assumed that it would be able to be assembled after both the screw cutting and feeds gearbox and the apron, not the saddle. The apron had gone on, but there you go. The lead screw looks lovely, doesn't it? It took some cleaning. You wouldn't have believed the filth in it. Right, so I'm going to make a taper pin there for there on the lathe very carefully, which is a fiddly job, but it can be done. I start off by turning it, but I end up sort of filing it, just getting it so that it fits, and then the taper continues a little way so I can just tap it home. And what I'm doing with all these taper pins is I'm filing a little slot in the big end, so that I know then which is the big end, and I can turn it round and hit the little end with confidence. So there you go. It's looking good. Very pleasing. Right, I'll bring you back when I've done a bit more. What I want to do next is get the oh, my phone's ringing. Right, I'll bring you back in a bit. Well, once again, folks, we've got a little anomaly here. Order of assembly. Now, on the end of the lead screw is this patent device here that takes up all the end float in the lead screw, which is very clever. But in order to get the screws in, this block has to come right to the very end there and be flush. There. Right? And yet that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And for today, I've run out of time. But I think you'll agree that we've done quite well. all those, all the drives are on, the knockoff's on. The knockoff doesn't drag anywhere. I've wound I've got the knockoff just loose in there. Of course you can take the knockoff out, and I can take it out from there and do it more work in it. It's not fixed in this block at all. You can see how freely it slides there. So the bent knockoff is now not bent anymore. Everything's working. The only thing I have to suss out is how to assemble this. Take the screws out, slide it in, assemble it, move it back. When you move it back, it doesn't go back far enough. It's a tiny amount out, but it doesn't go far enough. I think the lead screw must have shrunk with being out for so long. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow for Friday's fun and games. Bye now. Afternoon, people. Friday. It tells its own story, really, doesn't it? Leaden skies. Oh, it looks like more on the horizon, although I believe it actually is going south. Been raining most of the day. But, he said, there's an upside and a downside. The upside is, after a few minutes, actually, I went home last night wondering about this because I could not get this block to come just a tiny 16th of an inch further that way to make it go on, to make the screws fit. And I checked the threads on the screws, and I put some very slight taper on the ends of the threads because there wasn't any, and I thought, oh, it'll go on now, but it wouldn't. And then I realised that when you're assembling this device, which is the Holbrook patented lead screw end float adjustment, which is very good indeed, you have to, there's a steel ring and a brass C washer, if you like, and you have to put the steel ring actually onto the brass C washer before you assemble it. So I got that sussed, put it all together, assembled it, put the screws in, put the orders in, oiled it, and then of course I realised that I'd forgot to put the carriage lock in. Order of assembly is important. I shall take that off again, slide that this way, and then I shall put it on, I hope. Right, bring you back when I've done it. Just a shout out to Mr. John Burke, the guru of all things Holbrook, who strongly advised me to tap these pins 4BA so that you could pull them out and slide that off the end. He was so right. Bye now. A bit of luck. If you take the end block off, there is sufficient room to wind it back and get the stop on. Thank goodness for that. Right. Reassemble. Right, folks. It's all back together. It's all functioning correctly. Isn't that pleasing? So, what's to do? Well, it's packing in time because I have to go home and do a few little jobs now, so I'm going to call that it for this week. What about next week? Well, there's going to have to be some painting. I'm not sure about this. In most of the original pictures this isn't painted. However, over the years it has suffered some abuse, and I think all in all I might, I don't know, no, there's that, no, I think I'll leave it bare metal. I mean, I've made best of it. I'm going to polish it up now. I shall polish it up, but I think I'll leave it bare metal because of the scale around there. Right, so there's going to have to be some painting. Right, all these want painting. The bits of the now repaired end cover want painting, but I think what I'll do is I'll work those in between putting the screw cutting gearbox back together, which is very simple. All that's to do here now is to put the this in here and then put the front on. That actually doesn't fit in there, it fits in it goes in the front panel in the selector rod, and then it fits into there, and that triggers the carriage stop via a lever in here and this block. So it's quite a simple reassembly job to get that all done. What I'll have to do then, I've put the final coat on the carriage hand wheel, which is there. I'll put the final coat on that, and then I'll have to get the carriage hand wheel fitted so that I can wind the carriage hand wheel back and forth and check that this isn't dragging. This is the rod that was bent that I've straightened out, and it's straightened out very well, and it does slide freely, but I want to check along its full length from this end to that end that it doesn't drag, because if it drags it'll trigger that, and I don't want it to do that. Of course, this is very easy to remove. We remove this simply by pulling it out of that end. We take these bits off and we slide it straight out that end, and then we can work on it again. I haven't put the stops on. There's a stop there and there's a stop that end, because they've both had another coat of paint and they're drying now. So they have to be on before you can finally say that's finished. So what I want to do is get that back together and check it. Just check that it's free. If not, I can take it out and work on it, but if it is free, we can go ahead, we can assemble that, right? We can also, as far as I know, assemble the cross slide and the top slide, because I think they're all finished, and the only way to find out if they're really finished is to start assembling them and see if we come across any snags. So that's a straightforward job, provided the bar's okay. That's a straightforward job. We are now going quite rapidly towards closure. I have to make, I'm working blind here because this is the collet closing tube. That's the thrust bearing for the collet tube. I've cleaned all this up. I think it could well be homemade. If it's not homemade, it's been abused a bit, but it's okay. The thread on the end is good. So I have to make some sort of handle for here, some sort of hand wheel or some way of tightening it against that thrust bearing. Right, but that's a matter of looking at some pictures and deciding. I think the original one is like a hand wheel type thing. I could cast an aluminium hand wheel, couldn't I? I could be crazy and cast one. This needs taking off and painting, of course, before we can assemble all this end. And that needs just a bit of a smear of filler in those casting holes there, and that one wants blocking up because that's now no use. These two are the ones I'm using. So bits and pieces, but I'm very pleased with the way it's coming on. It's beginning to look nice and shiny again. Right, thank you all for watching. Thank you to all the new subscribers. We've got another 22 I think in the last 28 days, so I'm going upwards, not downwards, and we're nearly on 800. I think it was 799 last time I looked. So thank you all, welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy what I do. Right, I'll see you all next week. Bye now.